Alright, back again, Luke here, and today what I thought I'd do is make a video that has kind of a little bit of a mix of everything in it. Totally unscripted, off the cuff, and yeah, thought it might be some stuff that you might find a little bit interesting. But I guess what I'll do for this video is just talk about, I don't know, a little bit about me, a little bit about Japan, so you guys can get a little bit of an idea on how I got here, what to expect if you decide to come here, things like that. Yeah, let's see where to start. I guess one of the biggest questions a lot of people ask, like, so Luke, what do you do in Japan? And it's a difficult question because I actually do a lot of different stuff. For one of those things I do is I do some TV stuff. On TV, I do repairs, not only for myself but for other people. I work with, you know, game magazines and a lot of different gamers around in Japan, and do interviews, do conference type stuff. Yeah, do all sorts of things like that. Just kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, I guess. But yeah, that's you know, a little bit about what I do. It keeps me busy. I'm usually, you know, running around doing something different every day, so it's kind of nice. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to do so many different things in one, you know, place that I really enjoy in Japan here. Other things to talk about, let's see here. When coming to Japan, okay, I guess we'll jump onto this one. When you come to Japan, there's some things that you gotta know before coming to Japan. I know I made a video a long time ago, kind of talking about some differences and some things that are in Japan that many people don't necessarily understand when they first come here, so I'll do that kind of again here so you guys don't have to weed through all the videos and try and find that one. But one of the main things before coming to Japan, you really have to have an open mind about things. Now, looking at historically, Japan is one of the only countries that's never been colonized by another country. If you look at China, they were colonized by the British. And if you go overseas, you know, to Korea, you'll find that a lot of the people over there are, you know, pretty much westernized to some extent. But in Japan, you know, they've had the walls in Japan, you know, the borders and everything just closed for 200 years or so, and it hasn't been, you know, more than maybe 100 years or maybe less, you know, since traffic has kind of slowly started to come in, and people are slowly starting to adapt and realize that, you know, the people who do come in can't speak Japanese, or the people who are coming in are different. And although it's a really slow change, it's getting better, little by little. And when you come to Japan, the things that you really need to be considerate about is living in a foreign country, not trying to push off the fact that, you know, English, although it's spoken, you know, pretty much around the world, it's not something that in Japan flies really well. Anyone who comes over to Japan and tries to push their culture or tries to push their language onto the Japanese people usually gets, you know, shunned or gets turned away. A lot of negative vibes. So when you come here, the best thing to do is to try to adapt to the culture. And what that means is, you know, try to learn as much Japanese as you can. Try to fit into the culture. Now, when I say fit in, I mean, you know, try your best to adapt into the Japanese culture by learning about Japan, being interested in Japan, trying to speak the language, and you'll have a much easier time. Now, that doesn't mean you'll have an equal time. Trying to assimilate into Japanese culture does not mean equality by any means. If you've lived in a foreign country before, you'll know exactly what it's like. When you put yourself in the position of the minority, you find that there's a lot of things that, you know, when you're in your own country, you can take granted for, but when you're in another country, it's really difficult. So Japan is one of those places. When you come here, if you try to just be yourself, you try to be an individual, you don't try to assimilate into the culture, you get looked down upon. And in general, you know, you don't really have the rights that the Japanese people do living here. You're an outsider. You're somebody who's come to Japan to, you know, try and learn more about it or to get interested in it. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily accepted or necessarily wanted. I know that probably doesn't sound the best, but it's kind of true. The harder you try, you would expect that, you know, the more respect you would get, or the more people would really want to, you know, get to know you a lot more. But it really depends on the person. It depends on how hard you try. It really depends on location. And there's a lot of factors involved. But nonetheless, if you do come here, make sure that you really try to get into the culture, and don't try to be an outsider any more than, you know, your looks or your background already puts you in. You know, try to do your best to avoid the stereotypes that are placed upon you by coming here. Avoid any kind of things that will cause people to get upset, you know, and I think you'll be alright. Let's see, what else here? If you're thinking about coming to Japan, there's many routes to get here, as far as living in Japan goes. If you're good at IT work, IT positions are pretty abundant around here, but you have to be really good, and you have to have certification for it. You can't really get a job in Japan without any sort of proof of certification or any kind of college degree. You can come here for travel, which is fine, but to live here you need a college degree. You really do need some sort of skills that are beneficial to the community, and if you don't have those, then it's hard to get a job. Anything more than the basic English teaching jobs that are here, and you know, those are really, they're just kind of a starter position. If you really want to get up and you want to try and expand yourself, you got to try and see how many different outlets or a different job, whatever skills you have, you can go for. Because if you stay in the English teaching position, you kind of stay at this rock bottom level. And a long time ago that position was kind of respected, but nowadays it's kind of saturated, and a lot of people don't hold quite as much respect as they used to. And partially that's because a lot of the people who come over to teach, you know, try to get as much money as they can, and try to do whatever they want in Japan because they're in a foreign country. And then when there's a problem, a disaster like we saw last year, a lot of people take off, and they don't, you know, they don't give any warning. They just say, look, this is dangerous, I'm leaving. And the Japanese people kind of see that as a weakness. So you really gotta try your best here. So other than that, pay, if you do work in Japan, usually you get paid once a month. And I've heard stories from other people too, talking about how in other countries, I think the UK or so, maybe they get paid on a monthly basis, but it can be really challenging to live off of 1 month's salary. Now, you can get a large lump sum of money, but the cost of living is expensive, going out's more expensive, and you can burn through that money really quickly. And, you know, you have to think, wow, I have to go 1 month with this salary. So you have to try and, you know, space it out, do a lot of cooking at home, try not to go out as much, unless you got a really great job. But you really got to kind of, you know, work out how much money you have for bills, how much money you have for food, how much, you know, it's going to cost you to live throughout that month. But that's one of those important factors there. Let me see, what else? Yeah, a lot of different cultural differences in Japan with the things that are around here, the foods, the entertainment, things like that. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of people who really say like, oh man, you know, you're a hoarder, or I can't believe you still play games, kind of things like that. But Japan is one of those places where it's accepted, and there are a couple of different kinds of people here. There are people who don't have a hobby, like literally have no hobby. They just stay at home, watch TV, listening to music. You know, I guess in a case, just reading books, I suppose you could say that it's a hobby, but not in the sense of like physically doing something, you know. But then you have the other side of people who are really active, who do sports around here, mountain climbing, play music, do collection, you know, have collections and things like that. Those are your two basic sides. So either way, if you come to Japan, you can make it, you know, if you have a hobby or if you don't have a hobby, but no matter what you do, you're pretty much, anything you do is accepted, you know, in your own home. You know, if you decide that you want to do painting or game collecting or photography or anything like that, it's fine. There's no standards like there are back home. You know, in the States, you think about it, when you meet somebody, if you said, oh, hey, you know, I'm into gaming or so, and you know, I'm in my 30s, some people might say like, wow, why don't you grow up? Or, oh, I can't believe you're such a nerd, and stuff like that. But in Japan, it's not a problem. It's not an issue at all. For myself, I actually used to love repairing cars. I mean, I'm from Michigan, Motor City, and down by Detroit. Used to love wrenching on cars, you know, just get an old beater and fix it up and, you know, paint it and turn around, resell it, and, you know, have fun and stuff like that. I used to love that. When I came to Japan, I bought 2 cars, and that was pretty expensive to have the 2 cars, but I did maintenance work on them, and then I found that no matter how hard I did maintenance, I still had to pay the weight tax on the car. I had to pay for like insurance for it, the what is it, the yearly taxes on it. I mean, it just got really expensive, and you couldn't fix your own car. I mean, you can fix your own car, but you still have to take it in to get it checked, so it's kind of pointless. Which is, you know, is one of those things that I really love to do. Electronic repairs and things like that were just kind of like a side hobby. You know, I used to do them when I was younger, but when I came to Japan, I really wanted to do car work. I really was interested in the car racing scene and all that stuff, but, I mean, that kind of faded away when I found out how expensive and difficult it was. So, yeah, I got into gaming again, and I'm still, you know, I like things where you use your mind and working with your hands. And that's where a lot of the repairs comes from. To be honest, I spend a lot of time doing repairs compared to gaming, which is, you know, kind of a shame. But recently I've been trying to get back and, you know, do a little bit of gaming. But, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where maybe a hobby that you had as a kid, when you come to Japan, you think, wow, I haven't done that in a long time, but then it comes back really strong, like a wave, and you get back into it. And that's kind of what happened here, you know, with the amount of games going on here. But, yeah. So, and, yeah, I've been watching, you know, some of, yeah, looking at some of the comments, you know, on some of my other videos. I love it when you see, like, Hoarder! Whoa, you should be on Hoarders! Hoarder, hoarder, hoarder! And it's interesting because the definition of the word hoarder is collecting worthless junk. And, you know, it's funny because in someone's eyes, yeah, you could say, wow, this is a lot of worthless junk, but when you think about it on a realistic scale, a lot of this stuff is actually very valuable. And a lot of you guys in the gaming community also know that anyone who collects games, the games generally, if they're decent, will go through one of those roller coaster type phases where maybe they're really expensive at the beginning, they drop down, they get really cheap, then they go back up again and get expensive. There's a wave of it, and now the retro gaming scene is getting really, really, I guess, competitive. A lot of people are trying to get games that they used to play. Sometimes they're really expensive, things like that, but it's not only a collection, it's an investment, and I think it's far from hoarding. I think other people still think that, like, hoarding also means, like, you're keeping something from somebody else and not allowing them to have a chance at it. But if you buy this stuff at a point when nobody wants it, and you keep it for 20 years, and then everybody wants it, I wouldn't say that that's hoarding. I'd say that that's making a wise decision. You know, it's like buying a classic car when they're first built, you know, in the 1950s, 1960s, keeping it for 50 years, and, you know, pulling it out of your garage and somebody saying like, wow, I can't believe you have 2 of those or 1 of those, and wow, you should sell that, or that's not fair, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, that's, I find that interesting. The other thing, I guess, some people were asking, can foreign guys get women in Japan? And the answer is yes, but not really. And I say this because the image of the charismatic man that used to be around here in the 1980s, maybe 1990s, and early 2000, maybe was, you know, a great time to come out here, and yeah, people would just wow, this guy's foreign, he's unique, I really want to get to know him type stuff. But nowadays, it's not all about charisma. It's about being able to adapt to Japanese culture, speaking Japanese, trying to fit in, the way you dress, the way you act, the way you talk. All of these factors are important in trying to start a relationship in Japan. Now, if you do work for a language school, or if you do work for an English school or something like that, your chances may be higher. But you're focusing on a very small niche of Japan. Generally the people who want to study English are someone who's had experience abroad, or who's interested in going abroad, or somebody who's looking to get a boyfriend or get married, something like that, along those lines. And that's what you'll find when you go to a language school. The other thing to consider, though, too, is getting in a relationship in Japan doesn't mean that it'll last. Relationships in Japan with foreign guys or foreign girls generally seem to fall apart quite easily, and the main reason for that is because at the beginning it's really fun. It's like when you first come to Japan, you go through this honeymoon period where you feel like, wow, this is great, I love Japan, this is so exciting, wild, and new. Then you go on a kind of slump where you start feeling like, yeah, but this is not this, and I'm not really comfortable, and these are different from my country. It's the same things that go through everyone else's mind when you get in a relationship with someone in Japan. At first, you know, it's wild and exciting, but then you find yourself having difficulty communicating, or things aren't as great as they used to be, or cultural differences, things like that, and things do fall apart. So I guess basically don't come to Japan thinking, you know, oh, I'm a foreign guy, or I'm a foreign girl, and I'm going to get anybody I want, and it's going to be perfect, I can do whatever I want, because it's not. It's actually much, much harder than you think, and sometimes people wind up settling for less than they would even in their own country, and that means, like, character-wise, that means, you know, on a lot of factors, a lot of different areas. Many people just decide to go, hey, look, I'm lonely, I want to get with you because I'm lonely. And that's, you know, that's what happens, unfortunately. I know there's probably tons and thousands of questions that everyone wants to know about Japan, and that's something that I'm not going to be able to discuss or not be able to answer here, just because it's a lot. There's just so much here that you can talk about, but there's only so much time. So let me see what else I can say here. The medical system in Japan is pretty scary. There's not a whole lot of doctors here who are real doctors, and what I mean by that is there's a lot of college hospitals where the doctors are actually interns and they're practicing, and sometimes, you know, it is scary when you go to a hospital or something like that and you can't explain what's wrong, and the doctors themselves are actually just in training and things like that. So you got to be careful, take care of yourself in Japan. Japan is probably not one of those places where if you have a disability, it's not a place that's easily manageable in Japan. I mean by, like, physical disability. If you have difficulties walking or anything like that, although it's getting better right now, it's really still kind of difficult. Lots of stairs, lots of long distances between stations, and sometimes just a lot of walking. And that's something that kind of makes it a little difficult for anybody who has a disability in Japan. It's not the easiest or most convenient by any means, but it is getting better. On the plus side of things in Japan, you know, there's so many wonderful places you can go in such a short time. You can visit the mountains, the ocean, the city, the countryside, everywhere you want within an hour's reach. I mean, that's an hour by train, and you can see so many great places. There are so many different shops. There's something in Japan for everybody, but the culture itself may not be for everybody. There's a lot of things that people really enjoy. Some people love the fashion, some love the games, some people love the nature, and you know, all of the beautiful things in Japan, but it's something where it might be a surface level love. When you come here, you might find yourself really interested in into it, but it's one of those places, for some people, it's a place where you want to stay and live and maybe spend your life. For other people, it's a place where you just want to come and visit and then go back home. And just kind of a refreshing place to come. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great things around here, and there's a lot of interesting things around here, but for each person, I think it'll depend. And I think that if you have a chance, before you decide to come out in Japan and make the commitment to live, it might be something where you come out here and try it out for a month or 3 months. Stay out here for a little while, see what, what you get from the experience of living in Japan, and then use that to make your final decision on whether you want to stay here or not. But let's see, what else? What else can I talk about? Pretty much that's it. That's kind of all the stuff that I really wanted to talk about. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of, some backgrounds here on, what brought me out here was a lot of friends that were interested in Japan had a huge influence on me as well, and, being able to study a little bit of Japanese when I was in college, I really wanted to, get to know more about Japan, so that brought me out here, and I was pretty much, really, at the beginning, I was really having a hard time. It was really depressing. It was sad not having any friends here or not being able to speak the language. But like I said, with that roller coaster, at the beginning, great, and then it started to drop down, and I thought about going back home, but then I said, you know what, it's a little too early to give up. Let's give it, a little bit more time. And I did, gave it some more time, and here I am, 10 years down the road, I'm still in Japan, and I'm loving it. I really wouldn't want to change this. Even with all the negative points there might be, there's negative points in every single country. And there's just so many positive points of living here than, for me personally, than negative points. So I think this will be, pretty much my home. I've already considered it my home for these last 10 years, and I really don't have any plans on changing that for right now. But, yeah. That's about all. That's about all I can tell you guys for right now. There's other videos if you guys want to check those out. I know I won't be able to respond to every comment in the comment section. I know some people really, what about this, what about that? Many people want to ask a lot of questions, and I won't be able to get back to all of them. So I apologize for that in advance, but just trying to, let you guys know a little bit more slowly, bit by bit. About Japan here, and yeah, hopefully it helps you guys out a little bit. But I think that's about enough rambling for me. I just want to kind of share some things that I was thinking about with you guys, and yeah, that's it. So, like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. And today, as you can see, we got some Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Love this one. Playing on the old Fammy here with the composite mod in the back. And then I got some Biohazard 2 down here on the old N64. Some great stuff. Old classics. But yeah, I really do appreciate all the support, and I really appreciate you guys checking out these videos, and I will try my best to throw up some more here. Well, not throw up. Put up some more videos when I get a chance. So, take it easy, guys.